so very grateful to be on with you. Yet another beautiful light leader in the world. I've been, connected. We've been connected for so long now, and on the interwebs and social media. And it's going to be awesome to do this deep dive with you because I really feel so connected to so much of your work and the beautiful wisdom that you share. And although I know so many leaders of leaders that I know turn to you for support, and it says a lot. And so I'd love for you to maybe just tell us, for those watching who might not know you, a little bit about your journey and your background.
I started in martial arts when I was a youngster, and that was my base of physical, mental, emotional, spiritual development. I was very blessed to have very caring, loving, conscientious, awake mentors growing up as a young fellow. And that has led me to healing worlds, all the different realms of non-traditional and traditional healing realms. And then I've been very blessed to have mentors of great wisdom. And so my life is really, and my sharings are the expressions of what I have learned along the way in the realms of relationship, empowerment, leadership. And I guess my main focus right now is to help those who are making impact on the planet, to support them in dialing up, ramping up, aligning themselves so that their gifts and that their offerings, their spirit is coming out in the world in the most maximum optimized way.
Beautiful, beautiful. In that, would you share with us a little bit about what that looks like? Like right now, we're in very unique times, yet I think it's my experience that when we're going through massive challenges, which we have in the past, we, in terms of our generation and certainly, of course, generations prior, but we've experienced really difficult and challenging times, and that's happening on the macro. And then if you take that down to people's individual lives and businesses, right? You might be going through your Saturn return and going through your own individual challenging experience. What are some of the ways that you've been supporting people, to kind of stay in their power and not only survive, but maybe rise through this opportunity?
Yes. Challenge is part of our reality. Mm-hmm. Challenge, as well as abundance and flow, constriction. In my experience, and the ancient wisdom masters have been sharing this for many years, is that all experiences arise in duality. We're in a dualistic universe here. And so there will be periods of famine and feast. There'll be boom and bust. There'll be times of great health and illness. There'll be times of abundance and prosperity, times of more constriction and conservatism. This goes on and on and on. So rather than fight these opposites, the way I like to approach it is to look at, if I am feeling in a state of, let's say, for example, right now there's challenges on the planet, people are experiencing challenges, business, individuals, down earth, at a macro level we're experiencing challenges. Let's say as a overall dial-in, there's a deep uncertainty in the world. And uncertainty is being flamed by media. Uncertainty is being flamed by politicians. Uncertainty is being flamed by our neighbors. But what is the opposite of uncertainty? It's certainty. And so we cannot have one without the other. We cannot have a world without contrast. So one of the things that I've come to realize is that we need to look at that within ourselves, to look at from a macro scale, that this is part of a growth cycle. If we look at all the challenges from World War I onwards, since the beginning of that time, we can see so many crashes. And soon after the crash is a boom. War, crash. Another boom that happens soon after. All the different diseases that have been on the planet, the current one as well. There's been booms or crashes, and then soon after, another stages of expansion and growth. So we as conscious individuals, our job, our responsibility, our search and our holding is to feel for these dips and become equanimous, To say, no, I'm not going to allow myself to be sucked in. I'm not going to allow my emotional body to be gripped and pulled into the panic, into the downward spiral. I, as a divine individual, an eternal individual, can choose to take the path spiraling upwards. Even if everything around me seems uncertain, I will find that certainty within, and then I will exude, transmit, and hold that beacon, that ever steady beacon of certainty. So that's one of the foundational practices. Discover what the opposites are that you're facing and learn to experience the wholeness and find the wholeness within regarding those.
That's beautiful. I appreciate and relate to that so much. I found that some of our, wisest teachers that I'm sure you have also studied, we both have studied over the years, have a way of saying things in such a succinct way, And one of my favorites that I think, for the most part, encompasses much of what you just shared is Panjali in the Yoga Sutras, where he shared just a very simple statement of dwell on the opposite. And you brought up that beautiful opposite. It's like, what's the opposite of uncertainty? Certainty. And if one exists, the other one must also be available at this time. And it's up to us to be in that place of, and I love that word, equanimity or equanimity. I love that, like this neutral place, because then you have access to either.
Yes.
So that's perfect. I couldn't agree more. And I know you've had all of these wonderful, guides and mentors. What a beautiful opportunity throughout your life. And at the same time, there's no doubt that you've had some of your own experiences and challenges. You have a story that maybe others can relate to, where you were the once the phoenix still in the ash, and kind of took your way out of that.
Absolutely. One of my teachers, he was a wild man. In fact, his name was Stuart Wilde, and he was a great mentor to Deepak Chopra, Wayne Dyer. He was one of the early spiritual giants back in the 70s. And I was very blessed to come across him and have him take me underneath his wing.
Oh, personally?
Personally, yes.
Oh, I have a couple of his books. That's awesome.
Yeah, he was my mentor until he died, which was just a few years back. And for over maybe 25, maybe 30 years, he was, we were really tight. And one of his main teachings, I remember I was running my martial arts school, right? And there was all types of challenges I was having. It takes a lot to run a martial arts school. There was some economic challenges that came in. People started saying, hey, I'd love to train, but I can't pay my tuition. And then my rent and I was like, oh my goodness, if I don't have all this, then my rent, I'm going to be kicked out. So back then I was like really stressed out. And I called him up and I was telling him what's going on, and I was full of angst and full of fear. And he says to me, interesting evolutionary experience. And I was like, what? That's it? He goes, yeah. Interesting evolutionary experience. And it floored me. I was looking for some panacea. I was looking for some back patting. And he said, Satyan, all these experiences, when you remove yourself from the emotional embroilment, he says, the lesson he gave me was start turning the noise down, detach and unravel yourself from the hooks, the matrix hooks of importance. And then he said, find where have you attributed excessive importance to whatever you are trying. And I said, well, it's important that I need to make X amount of money to pay the rent in 2 weeks. And he goes, what if you could remove and turn down the dial of the excessive importance you're attributing to that, and just breathe deeper and look at it as an interesting evolutionary experience. Now, as a 20-something-year-old with a lot of piss and vinegar, I'm like, how do you do that? Well, I took it on, and every time I started feeling overwhelmed, energy started rising, contraction, anxiety around paying the bills, I said, interesting evolutionary experience. I removed myself from the emotional containment of it. I breathed, I moved my body, and then I started looking at it with more dispassionately. And then, you know what would happen? Miracles would happen. Synchronicities would bring in the right people, the right person, a student who's I'd like to pay in advance for the whole year. In fact, I have my family. Can you give me a deal? And that whole deal with the family take care of the rent. And this started happening more and more when I realized, oh my goodness, when I start saying this is good, this is bad, this is scary, this is uncertain, this is not certain, this is great, this is awesome. And I started saying no, interesting evolutionary experience, and meant it. What I found is the universe started moving in my favor. It started morphing and rearranging the existence of reality to serve my alignment that I had. Previously, it was serving my misalignment and magnifying back to me the uncertainty that I was transmitting into the cosmos. But as I started dispassionately doing that, and now for me, anything happens, even if I have huge emotions, fear, scare, the circumstance around us, placidly, deeply take a moment to disconnect and say, this is an interesting evolutionary experience. And then finding the center of my being, which now can approach this circumstance with clarity, breath, spaciousness, and I invite the flow. And that creates and cultivates faith in the cosmos, faith in the divine, faith in the perfection of all the articulation that's going on at meta levels for me, for you. And so I'm going to invite us all to start looking at wherever we have contractions, remove ourselves and say, add humor, add the injection of lightness of being and humor, and say, what an interesting evolutionary experience.
Let's all take a deep breath right now. Perfect. Just feel yourself settle into that truth. You know, I see it as this. A lot of times you can make this analogy of like the garden hose that gets kinked.
Yes.
You know, and as soon as you're in resistance to this thing that you're making so much meaning out of, it means that then I'll lose my lease, and then I'll lose my school, and then I'll be homeless. Way before any of that is anywhere near being true, you're already there. But if you can come back to that center and be healthily detached, I think an important distinction that I would love to hear you share more about is like, it's not an apathy, right? Like it's not like
it's not a resignation.
I give up, or
yes.
Because I think that's a lot of A-type energy might see it that way. But maybe you can speak more to that. It's not.
I work with a lot of A-type people, okay, in very strong leadership positions, and when I first teach them and train them in this practice of lowering importance, I have a triangle, what I consider peak performance or next level peak existence I'd love to share. And I found that this is such a very powerful, when you have this triune, this triad of principles activated consciously, then what happens is there's truly a magical manifestation that happens, capacity. The first aspect of this triangle is 100% in, 99% is slow drip poison, or less. So what I mean by that is, if I have an intention I wish to create, right now, the folks, for example, one of my fellows, Jason, is on my in my circle that I coach. He's got an extraordinary, him and his wife have an extraordinary sales company, one of the most powerful sales companies in North America, probably in the world. They train organizations in sales. And extreme powerful man. And this time, since, there's challenges, people are questioning, should we continue our contracts? Should we take our extra money and save it more? And they're putting him and his company and their work less on the rung. And so that affects business. And who knows, next week after. And so I said, and he started getting really tense. I got to work harder. I got to push harder. I go, what if we just say, instead of work harder, what if you were just to find, is there any part of you, and this is an invitation to all of us listening and watching, if whatever intention you wish to have, greater wealth, greater flow, better relationships, more ease, more abundance, even during stressful and challenging times, if that's an intention, Where in yourself are you 99% or less in terms of commitment and intentionality? And wherever you find that, love that, honor that, and then say, and bring yourself, my beloved Satya, and I will come to 100% in. It doesn't mean you become more young. It doesn't become more testosterone filled. It doesn't mean that you go into crush it mode.
Push harder, right?
No, it's just alignment of commitment. Now that's only one part. 100% in. When you are, the universe loves you. The universe goes, finally you're here with the fullness of how I can serve you, and gives you 100% back. It's a miracle. But you got to find where you're anywhere less. This is the artistry of self-inspection and honesty. Because there could be 1,000 reasons why you're not 100% in. There probably are. Find them, eliminate them.
This, I feel, is a huge point where, like, I believe, because everything is so intensified in times of challenges, that it's the best opportunity for these micro attunements that I speak to, and that's the thing. That's part of what I'm hearing.
Absolutely, brother.
Yeah.
So that's one part of this triangle of peak existence, moving beyond peak performance. Mm-hmm. The other triangle, or the other aspect of that, is lowering importance. Finding where you're worked up, finding where I'm worked up, finding where it means so much to me that I'm adding an excess energy into the situation. Right. All right, I'm adding an imbalance by my leaning too far into things, or apathetically leaning away from things. Resignation, wherever that is. So what I do is, because if we lower importance too much, and it's not important, who the hell gives it? Then there's a resignation, there's an apathy, there's how can I say, you just reduce whatever you're working on to nothing. That's not what I'm talking about. It's finding where are you adding importance, and just dial it down. Breathe deeper, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually. Don't say it's not important. Just feel the mechanisms of important.
Yes,
dial them down.
A lot of people use the terminology, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They're just speaking themselves into to try and reduce the pressure that they're feeling, and then they're diminishing their intention. Right?
Exactly.
Right, yeah, okay.
So, 100% in, 99% is or less is a slow drip poison.
Yep.
Find wherever you have excessive importance, dial it down with that same topic, so that now you're more in a state of equilibrium, equanimity, peacefulness, and you're inviting flow when you reduce importance. Importance rejects and repels flow state. Lowering importance attracts and opens up flow state.
Right.
Now, please.
This is beautiful because speaking to Ivan yesterday, one of our other 7 light leaders, I think it might have been a conversation we had offline before we even recorded, but we're just talking about how it's so interesting when people are doing really well financially, how all of a sudden the endorsements come and the free gifts come and everything just kind of gets handed. And anyone who's not in that energy field is like, why do all the people who already have everything get everything? And they get really angry, not understanding that there's a principle, a deeper principle at play. It's because they're not in this need of it.
Yes.
It just flows to them. They're able to be in this space of being available to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So 100% in.
Yeah.
Lowered importance. And the third part, when these are all active, the third part is full impeccability and follow through. So my mission, my vision, my intention, I've now 100% in. But when you're 100% in, sometimes our energy gets too serious. So lower the importance and now combine it with dispassionate, exacting follow through, exactitude, dotting the I's, crossing the T's, being impeccable with your word, looking for, how can I create whatever I'm doing right now in this moment with the fullness of myself, with 100% impeccability, impeccable follow through, impeccable completion, impeccable timeliness. It sounds like Why do I need to be more impeccable? Because that's the energy which builds your reputation now in the midst of challenges, which transmits to the world, your family, your friends, your colleagues, the world, that under pressure, under tension, that your quality is going up. It's becoming even more dialed in. People trust you more. Organizations trust you more. Financial exchange can be a higher level because you're exuding that you're a person that not only can be trusted, but will deliver with absolute impeccability, will deliver it in a calm way with lowered importance, and will deliver a 100% feeling of they're in, behind you, beside you. Those three activated all together, my friend, it creates, we go beyond peak performance, and we literally can become gods of our universe with that simple triangle.
Yeah, just tremendous depth. I know you could elaborate even so much fuller on each one of those points. And as you can see my logo in the background, I'm a fan of triangles, by the way.
Beautiful.
That's been over my shoulder the whole time. So it's, one of the most powerful geometric shapes in the universe. So I love the simplicity in the nature of that. And I love just the profundity, like how deep that is. So thank you for that. Thank you for that. Yeah. And so, what do you see, if you were to, I don't know that you're a futurist by nature, but I'd love to hear your thoughts about, at this time, what's kind of being, let me just share, my sense is that things are being cleaned up. That on a whole, to some degree, everyone, whether they're conscious or unconscious of it, is becoming more impeccable. There's a level of transparency that's even being forced at this time. Yes. Because overall, even though there's tremendous challenge at this time, and still we might, let's just for the sake of simple language, say forces that might be, creating pressures, or with that, going back to the opposites exist, there's tremendous amount of light on the planet, which is why I'm doing this and trying to, bring it even more fully. And so I believe that there is this rebirth happening. And I'm wondering, do you feel that same energy right now, that something really new, unique is being born and emerged from this? And if so, what? What does that look like to you in your opinion? If you do believe?
Yes, well, my experience is that we're going through a quickening. A complete world level quickening from the inside out. A quickening in consciousness, a quickening in evolution, a time of concentrated evolutionary life force. In the yogic teachings, Kundalini is considered the evolutionary life force within ourselves. Usually people think of Kundalini as an evolutionary experience within, but yogically it's also a societal evolutionary impulse. It's also a earth level, Gaia-centric level. I believe we're going from me-centric to we-centric to Gaia-centric, meaning that we feel ourselves, we know ourselves, we are not feeling any separation from Mother Gaia herself, sister, wife Gaia. And I believe, and I said, why not just mother? I was in the Amazon years back in a ceremony with the sacred medicine, ayahuasca, and I was connecting to Mother Ayahuasca, and Gaia, Bhumi is what the Hindus call her, the mother, the universe. And she says to me, I don't want you to call me mother anymore. I don't want any more children. I want husbands. Now she's talking to me as a man.
Sure.
And I went, what? And she goes to me, and this is all in the inner dimension world, right? This is beyond words. But the lesson I was getting that she was transmitting to me was, this is not, she goes, I don't want you to be a child, a mother. You can, as a youngster, I can ignore my mom. I might not treat her well. I might forget to call her. I can even be abusive verbally or physically even. I can treat her like shit and keep her house. But mom will always love you, come back to you.
You could suck on the teat till she's drained of all life.
Which is what we're doing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And we're pillaging her, we're raping her, we're using her as a resource. We don't care about her. We're extrapolating because we're not in a Gaia-centric consciousness. So she shared with me, I want husbands and wives. I want husbands in this case for me, because she said, I need you to be a man. And how would you treat your wife? Like my wife Suzanne. Are you kidding? She will no way take what I would ever offer my mom. I have to be much more respectful, honoring, recognize I'm an equal. How shall I honor and love my wife? So I think this is the energy. We're going from spiritual children to adolescence, and some of us are moving into adulthood spiritually on an earth plane level. Now, what does that come with? Well, I believe there are truly, if you will, nefarious, diabolical intentions. There are individuals and people and organizations that care for themselves. We can extrapolate it out esoterically as far as we want, but at the end of the day, it's coming from me. I want gain, control, manipulation, staying in power, gaining more power, states of being. Who they are, what they are, and all of that, people have shared about that infinitum. Mm-hmm. But also with that is the Jedi Force. Also coming with that is those who are deeply opening and expanding forces, beings, us, individuals, leaders, all of us stepping up who are benevolent, full of love, full of consciousness, aiming to bring unity to others in small ways, in big ways, in wider ways, even just through meditation, through simple embrace, through doing kind acts, through mega acts, through changing world paradigms, through creating new monetary systems, through creating new structures for what a new Gaia-centric reality will be about. I'm working very closely, and I'm chairman of such and very involved in these type of organizations doing this. So I feel they both are there. And so we have a very powerful opportunity to quicken in our ascension and union with Gaia-centric reality. Or we can descend, spiral down, and go deeper into fear, self-serving, egoic, all the way to egomaniacal intentions. We have that choice. Everyone listening here is of the spiral upward, of course. Yeah. So my invitation and challenge is to step up to what is yours to do, what is mine to do right now in this time of the quickening, and let go of what is not ours to do. There's many things we all can do. What is not ours to do? Journal on that. What is not ours to do? And start releasing it, because someone else will pick it up who's meant to do that. But more valuable is what is mine to do. What is my stand in the world now? What is my offering and gift? And if it's anything less than 99%, it's a slow drip poison. If it's 100%, the doorways of infinity will show up like a red carpet in front of us.
That's beautiful. Thank you. I'll just pause there for a moment. You know, it's interesting. One of the things that I teach is the power of paradox, and how, you know, the mind abhors a paradox. It really needs to hold on to one single truth. And the very idea that this could be true and this also could be true can send some people into just fury and panic, depending on how they're existing right now. And what I find unique is that every day and every moment is a choice point. But on a larger scale, we are in this very hyper condensed choice point at this time. And I love the terminology quickening. There's quantum science is actually showing us that as the universe continues to expand on our evolutionary journey, time literally is speeding up. I've had this theory that at some point, I don't know what generation, it may not be ours or the next, but there might be a generation that's going to have to change the calendar. It might be a different number of days in the month, or a different number of hours in the day. It is interesting, because with multiple truths being possible, it's important that you discern more than ever what is yours to do. What is yours to do? I think a lot of us feel that, here's the paradox, is that we feel this overimportance of what we have to take charge of.
Yes.
And it's just this sense of control because we feel out of control.
Yes.
Right? And in the irony of that, it is all you and all about you once you connect to the thing that is yours.
Absolutely.
But
Yes.
that exercise of discerning what is yours to do is really, really beautiful. What a great opportunity at this time. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Yeah. I feel like there's a shift even happening in the coach mentor world. And you mentioned going from the me to the we. In my experience, that began to happen in the shift around 2012, at a larger scale.
Yes.
Now we're going from the we to, let's say, the one with it
Yes.
in support with Gaia and recognizing we are one with
The all.
The all. Thank you. Perfect. So we're moving closer to that. And so I guess for those who still I'm feeling a call to do more things like this. Bring people together in the collective to show a unified force and field.
Yes.
Where else are you seeing this collective coming together and unifying? Because competition has been such a driver. And I feel like collaboration's coming up.
Yes. Collaboration, cooperation, mutuality. All of this is where we're going from, like we said, the me, the competition, the us versus them. Now, here's the thing. If we don't make it wrong, we recognize we grew from that. We grew from primordial man who had to bang each other over the head to get food. We've come a long way, and there's still parts of the world people are banging each other over the head. The way I like to look at it is like a bell curve from a vast space. There's individuals still starting out, banging each other, killing each other for the foundations of life on this planet. There's people are moving forward in North America. Even there's poverty and there's challenges, but there's also middle level income, higher level, and ultra levels. So some of us are here, and some of people are very forward in their evolutionary arc. The uniqueness of this planet system is we have the whole spectrum here, right here. We have some here in the bell curve, many here, and some here. For me, love and acceptance is called upon here. So we're not judging all those energies that are there. We're becoming empathic and getting what are their positive intentions? What are these beings that I'm further off, I can feel I'm not in the extreme of survival, I'm more thriving, I'm more balanced than they are in life. What are they really yearning for? For some people, it's just basic security of life. Foundations of food, water, roof, and security for their family. We can't fight with that. We can serve that by serving what is our role to play in our unique scheme, in what's ours to do. When we do that, although it might not seem exactly or directly related to raising this part of the world up, it is, because our contribution here creates an energetic field of expansion here, which then creates another energetic expansion from how you supported others. There's a mushrooming of consciousness, which goes down and it uplifts the whole. And so our job, I truly believe, is to uplift the whole by uplifting ourselves. To start locally. This is the other time of this area, of this time now, that since many of us are on internet, many of us are not traveling and moving around the world right now. This is a sacred time to appreciate the local community. My neighbors, I met my neighbors and I had a great talk. I haven't met them in 2 years. Right. They moved in 2 years ago. I never even met them. We've been planning to, they've been planning to, but it just happened. We had our own social distancing from the fence, but we had the most joyous celebration and connection. We sat out there for 2 hours jamming. Oh, wow. So local is enlightenment now. Yeah. Local is not ascending into the higher planes. Local is descending now into the humanity, into the love of each other as brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, as family members.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the descending, coming in and re-recognizing. I mean, if we look at science, we're all Africans.
Right.
All of us.
Yeah, technically, I literally just got my DNA done. You
Yes.
know, these different companies that can do your DNA. And technically, yeah, very literally in my specific strain, but overall, yes, all of us.
Right? We're all humanity in a great migration pattern.
Totally.
Right? That's never going to end. And so when we recognize even in science, let alone metaphysically, we have a great migration pattern coming from the same physical source, human source. And we can start seeing each other, having more compassion, more empathy. Because this is these foundational human heart-based skills, I believe are crucial right now for us to expand, cultivate, and open up now.
Perfect.
Those will anchor us into this reality, and then that anchoring will allow us to ascend into wider metaphysical dimensions of perception and awareness and intuition, but it can only be grounded in the heart-rooted sharing of food, sharing of hugs when it's time again, sharing of our humanity, giving each other a call. How are you? How's your heart? Where's your life like? How are your children like? How's your spouse? This simple humanity is, I feel, our Savior, and that Savior is in the heart.
100. We could pretty much end on that. That was perfect. I'll just share that it feels like a return to tribe to summarize some of that. And one of my dear teachers, who's I feel ever since I was a kid, I felt the presence as Paramahansa Yogananda.
Oh.
And that's one of the things. I can't remember the exact book. I've read a few of them where he talks about this returning back to tribe. One, that the Western woman would come back into her power and come online and inspire and activate all women. So the re-rising of the feminine, the recognition of the feminine, the remembering of the feminine, coming back to engage, and the uniting back of tribe. And I've been seeing that. I know you're part of communities and tribes, whether they be entrepreneurial or otherwise. The same as me with my tribe and community in Encinitas, California. And now I've got beautiful tribe in Austin, and a lot of them overlap. And what I've been seeing is like these pockets of conscious entrepreneurs mixing with yoginis and creating these pockets of tribes in Colorado and San Francisco and Austin, all over, and them all being interconnected and interwoven. And I think that's it. That, this has been coming online, and it's so important that teachers like you are sharing the recognition of that. Like, that's what we're doing. This is like, embrace that, open up to that, and that's beautiful. And I feel so much more of service at this time.
Yes.
And I'm so glad to be connected with men such as yourself, also in that place, because this has been an honor. So I just want to thank you and recognize you. Thank you so much, brother. Is there anything that you're up to that you wanted to share or speak to? I know you mentioned before the call there was some free offerings that you had, which I thought were beautiful.
So on my website, which is warriorsage.com, we've created 3 trainings. One of them is called the Abundance Activation. The next one is called the Relationship Activation. All relationships, friends, family, children, you name it. And then the last one is Power Activation, going from the power of the ego to our enlightened power. These are absolutely totally free to download. There's no upsell or any gimmicks. They're all designed so that people can download these trainings, do them with their friends, family, online, or if you have someone at home, and you can spend a day doing these. And it's designed to activate and foster conscious communities in your own neighborhood. And once you download these, you can call yourself a Warrior Sage Dojo. A dojo meaning a place where you can come together and grow and arise together. So please experience those, and those are very valuable. And they're really there to support the awakening of the 3 lower chakras: sex, power, and money. And fulfill. Once those are solidified, they're very transformative, and they're guided partner practices. So enjoy them, and I'd love to hear people's feedback on how that supports their lives.
Beautiful. Yeah, when those lower chakras are taken care of, then we can be in our true clean power without, concern with the external power, the lack thereof, or the need to get thereof. So that's a great gift. That's a great gift. So, and a lot of people are at home and got time. So, thank you so much again. I appreciate you so much. I'm excited to be sharing more of you. And for all of you watching, be safe. We love you. We see you. Until next time.
Thank you, Dallas. Much love, everyone. Thank you for your reception. And what's yours to do? Let's all step up and do it, okay?
That's it. Right. Discover it and own it and go do it.
Okay. Blessings.
All right. I stopped the recording. That was dynamic.
Oh, thank